Madeleine McCann. A new search is underway in Portugal, starting today, in relation to the disappearance of Madeleine. 18 years since the 3-year-old vanished. A source says that 21 privately owned pieces of land near the house of the prime suspect, who is Christian Brueckner, are due to be searched by German police. It just makes me terribly sad every time this story comes up, Denise. Just remind people, it was May 2007.
Yeah.
The McCann family were with other family friends on holiday in Praia da Luz in Portugal. They all went to dinner, leaving children in the rooms, I think 100 yards away. They were all taking it in turns to go and check every 20 minutes, half an hour. And when Kate McCann went to check, she found that Madeleine had disappeared. Horrendous story. It divided a lot of opinion at the time, didn't it?
I mean, I just think it's so prevalent in all of our minds, how we all felt at the time. And I remember being so upset and horrified at the way that, obviously, there was a great deal of support for the McCanns, but also how so many people turned on them. So not only were they going through, you know, the disappearance of their beloved child, there was so much hate directed towards them. And I actually... there was so much judgment levelled at them for leaving the children. And it really made me angry. And people may disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But where they were was so many yards, I can't remember the exact...
it says 100 yards.
100 yards away. There were also, from someone who'd worked for the same company as the hotel was where they were staying, people were often... encouraged to leave the children. Yeah. There was 15 minutes patrol going on. And so what I did one day, I thought about it, and I knew how many yards it was from the restaurant. And where I used to live when I was with Tim, which Colleen knows that house very well, we'd often have, back in my drinking days, we'd often have barbecues and stuff in the garden. And I'd put Louis to bed, and I measured how far it was from Louis's bedroom to where we were having a glass of wine and a salad outside, and it was exactly the same distance. And I felt perfectly safe that I'd put Louis to bed, but if somebody had targeted Louis, they could have come in and taken that child, and we would have might been in between the breaks. So I think there was so much judgment, and it, you know, again, there's still people say they shouldn't have left them, and maybe that's the case, but there was a lot of parenting styles changed after what happened. I used to do baby listening in a hotel. You know, those people who are older will remember, you used to take the phone off the hook, put it by the cot and go down to the restaurant and assume that if the baby murmured...
Well, we did actually. We were on holiday
because
Jack is just a year older than Madeleine, so I remember we holidayed a lot in Portugal and we saw all the posters. But I remember a lot of the mums from school, you know, it was a big story and everyone was talking and it was mixed opinions. Some people saying, I would never leave my child. And I told a story that we were in a villa... complex, you know, villa in a hotel complex, and they offered a babysitting service. And one evening, we decided that we'd use the babysitting service, and a lovely girl turned up, and I said hello, and she said, oh, I'm Maria, whatever her name was, had her books with her for studying, and we said, OK, well, we're just down, you can see the restaurant, and we're just down there, here's my number, there's my number. Jack never wakes up. Came back and everything was fine, he was asleep. But I did think when the Madeleine McCann story happened... What if? I thought, just say we had come back and she was gone and Jack was gone. I didn't check who she was. I didn't have a password. It was just the hotel of sent this babysitter.
I think it's strange, though, isn't it, when you're on holiday, how your mindset changes? Because if you were at home in your own house and a stranger turned up with books and went, I'll look after your child tonight, you'd go, sorry, I don't know who you are, haven't done a background check, don't know if you're, you know...
I think we just assumed,
but when you're on holiday, you get in holiday mode. It's like when you go to places and you'll walk at 3 in the morning down the street, that if you were home, you'd go, oh, don't do that, it's dangerous. Exactly. But when you're on holiday, we have this whole idea that everything is safe, you know.
And I think it affected a lot of people's parenting, changed after that, and it's such a sad thing that maybe Madeleine and what happened saved so many other children, because I think all of us look differently, and I mean, like, we think back to the days when we left outside shops in prams. You know, that will have changed because there will have been a baby that was taken. But I mean, I am so ashamed to say that when Maddie was about two years old, we went to Argentina and we went to the Iguazu Falls, which is, they say, if you look at the Niagara Falls, that's like a tap compared to the Iguazu Falls, right? We'd gone off trekking off with this guide, Kiki, Maddie on Mark's back, and he said, oh, do you want to try the boat? And we were like, yeah, let's try the boat. New parents. We gave our child to this guide that we did not know. We're up a mountain. He's got her on his back, and we're on a boat waving as we head towards the biggest waterfall you've ever seen. When we tell this story with Maddie there, Maddie's like, did you not love me then? It's like, no, we did. It's just we didn't think. We just didn't. It was a moment of madness. You could hear me screaming in Germany, I can tell you, as I headed towards the falls, because I thought, what have I done?
You said in the introduction as well about the letter from the grandma, Susan Healy, which was then the same name as mine as well. But when I was doing Dancing on Ice, I had heard, because we talked a lot about the McCanns in support of them on this show, and I knew that the twins were big fans of Dancing on Ice, and so I had invited them because I'd had contact with the grandmother before, and she wrote to me and said, Jerry and Kate would absolutely love to bring the kids, but unfortunately, if they're seen smiling or laughing in public, the hate and the trolling that they get is so horrendous that they no longer go out or try to be seen in public as little.
Some people actually said they deserved it. It's like, excuse me, that's a child that's had the most heinous crime meted out on her, taken from her family, and you somehow think that that's justified
but every time I
what the
see,
parents did.
you know, as you said, we've talked about it a lot on Loose Women over the years. Every time I see another Madeleine McCann story, there's a new lead or there's a possible sighting, I always think of Kate and Jerry McCann and think, whilst she's not found, there's hope. So, you know, and so every lead must be, oh, could this be her? Or there's been a sighting, because she would be 22 now. And I think for them,
family that's got a missing child.
Every family could talk as much about, apparently a child goes missing every 15 minutes.
I mean, it's shocking statistics, isn't it? And so I think
world.
Whilst they're not found, there's still hope, possibly. But listen, as always, our thoughts go out to the McCann family and the wider family, because this brings it all up again. It's front page everywhere. And, yeah, we're thinking of you today.